You work hard, you show up early, stay late, save what you can. You follow every rule they gave you. You believe in fairness, in the idea that discipline and patience eventually pay off. But your bank account doesn't reflect the grind. Month after month, you're stuck in the same place, maybe even slipping backward. Meanwhile, the wealthy, they somehow get richer, effortlessly. Even during chaos, pandemics, recessions, inflation, their portfolios grow while everyone else struggles to breathe. It's not just frustrating, it feels rigged. And maybe it is. This isn't some accident. It's not bad luck or a few bad apples. This is how the system was built. On purpose. Not for justice, for control. Power has always had its own rules, and those rules weren't written for people like you and me. That's exactly what Machiavelli tried to warn us about centuries ago. He didn't sugarcoat the world or waste time preaching about what should be. He told us what is. That power plays by its own rules, and morality doesn't win the game. Strategy does. You were raised to believe in a kind of moral math. Be good, work hard, and success will find you. But the world doesn't work like that. The richest people aren't always the smartest or the kindest. They're the ones who understand how perception works, how to use influence, how to move in silence. And the more you believe that life is fair, the more you get played. See, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about finally realizing that you've been trying to win a game that was never designed for you to win. The rules weren't broken. They were written that way, to reward the people who learn the game, not those who follow it blindly. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to become cold or ruthless. He was telling you to wake up, to stop walking into battle thinking everyone's playing fair. Because once you recognize that the game is rigged, you stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "How does this system actually work?" This isn't about envy, it's about clarity. Because once you see the setup, you stop being its victim. You stop grinding blindly. You stop chasing approval. You stop looking for fairness in places that were never meant to give it. That's not cynicism. That's survival. In The Prince, Machiavelli said a leader doesn't have to be good, they just have to look good. That's still true today. You don't need real virtue to rise. You need optics. You need to understand how to shape perception. We were taught that success comes from work. But real success, the kind that builds empires, it comes from leverage. You put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week and feel like you're doing your part. Meanwhile, the elite hire lawyers to bend laws. They lobby politicians. They use loopholes most people don't even know exist, and they call that strategy. Take Jeff Bezos. Amazon made billions while paying next to nothing in taxes because he understood how to structure his business. Warren Buffett? He once admitted he pays a lower tax rate than his secretary, not because he works harder, but because he earns through capital gains, not wages. It's not illegal, it's just smart. That's the difference between effort and understanding. And that's the point. It's not that these people are better or more deserving. They were just taught how the game works while the rest of us were told to keep our heads down, be good, and wait our turn. And that's why it feels like no matter how hard you push, you're still standing still, because you were taught to run faster on the treadmill, while someone else was busy designing the machine. You were trained to value hustle, to glorify sacrifice, to wear burnout like a badge of honor. But nobody told you that the system doesn't reward effort. It feeds off of it. You weren't given a playbook. You were handed a script, one that told you to stay polite, show up on time, and not ask too many questions. You weren't trained to build. You were trained to comply. And while you were perfecting obedience, someone else was perfecting control. Look at the schools the elite send their children to. They're not teaching them to fill out resumes. They're teaching them to manage, to lead, to command. Leadership, ownership, negotiation, those are their subjects. You were taught to wait your turn. They were taught to own the table. This isn't about being smarter. It's about being prepared. And preparation doesn't mean working more hours. It means seeing the pattern, the structure, the system behind the curtain. Because if you don't, you'll spend your entire life climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. In 2021, 55 massive corporations, companies like Nike, FedEx, Salesforce, paid zero in federal income tax. Zero. Not because they broke laws, but because they knew how to use them. Tax credits, loopholes, legal deductions, all tools that the average worker will never access. Why? Because you were never invited to learn this stuff. You were told to trust the process, that your time, your labor, your loyalty would eventually pay off. But the people running this system, they were taught something else entirely. How to extract value. How to use rules, not follow them. How to win by structuring the game, not grinding inside it. And here's where it really hurts. The more virtuous you try to be in a system that rewards manipulation, the more vulnerable you become. You start to believe the failure is yours, that you're not smart enough, that you're not trying hard enough. But the truth is, you were never meant to win this way. You were meant to keep playing, not to break free. That's what Machiavelli saw so clearly. He didn't write The Prince to make you cruel. He wrote it so you wouldn't be naive. He saw how easily the good get crushed when they assume everyone else is playing by the same rules. He warned us, if you walk into a room full of wolves, your kindness won't protect you. It will get you eaten. That's not a call to abandon your morals. It's a call to stop projecting them onto a world that doesn't return them. Because the system, the schools, the corporations, the culture, it all trains you to perform, to stay in line, to sacrifice and believe that someone is keeping score. But no one is. The system doesn't reward good people. It uses them. It flatters them just enough to keep them locked in. Just enough praise, just enough hope, just enough purpose, all to keep you productive, obedient, predictable. And while you're sacrificing, someone else is positioning. While you're saving, someone else is leveraging. While you're waiting, someone else is owning. You weren't failing, you were being used. That's the difference clarity makes. When you start seeing the mechanics, how influence flows, how rules get written, how narratives are shaped, the shame you've been carrying starts to fall off. You stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing ghosts. You stop measuring your worth with someone else's ruler. You start thinking like someone who sees the machine, and that's when it gets dangerous, for them. Because once you start seeing the machine, you stop being just another cog in it. Power today isn't about castles or crowns. It doesn't wear a name tag or carry a title. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. It moves through money, media, and mindsets, quietly, strategically, invisibly. And if you don't see it, you serve it. Look at the biggest asset managers in the world, firms like BlackRock. Most people have never heard of them. Yet they hold influence over hundreds of companies, industries, and even governments. They don't make headlines. They make decisions, quiet ones, powerful ones. Ones that ripple into your rent, your job, your news feed. They don't need to control governments. They just need to control capital. What gets funded, what gets silenced, what gets promoted as truth. That's the game now. Control the money, you control opportunity. Control the information, you control belief. Control belief, and you don't need to force obedience. People volunteer it. That's how deep this system goes. From the moment you stepped into a classroom, raised your hand, waited for permission to speak, you were being trained, not for freedom, not for power, but for participation. Quiet participation, predictable behavior. They didn't ask for your consent, they conditioned your compliance. And the scariest part? The system flatters you just enough to keep you in it. Tells you your vote matters, that your loyalty matters, that your work is changing the future. But deep down, you feel it. The disconnect between what you were promised and what you actually live. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because once you see the system, once you understand it wasn't built to reward sincerity but to use it, you have a choice. You can keep playing the rigged game, or you can step back. Not to rebel blindly, but to move wisely. Machiavelli wouldn't tell you to shout at the system. He'd tell you to study it, quietly, sharply. He wouldn't say fight the game. He'd ask, why are you still playing by its rules? This is where your power begins, not by chasing status or approval, but by walking away from the illusion that those things define your value. Start defining success on your terms, not theirs, not the system's, not the scoreboard you were handed. Success isn't about impressing people who don't care about you. It's about protecting your energy, your clarity, your time, your peace. So yeah, be good, but don't be used. Be kind, but not naive. Be loyal, but never to your own exploitation. This isn't about becoming ruthless. It's about becoming sovereign, calm, aware, strategic, awake. Because in a world built on illusion, clarity is your rebellion. Machiavelli didn't want you to stop being moral. He just didn't want you to be blind. And now that you see, really see, what are you going to do with it? That's your move now, not theirs.